This is Emily the Crunchy Coach. It is May 22nd, 2012, and this is my May update for my garden this year. And what we're looking at here are mung bean plants. And you may ask me, why are my mung bean plants surrounded by this wire cage? And these over here are in one of my PVC and window screen cages that I usually put over the brassicas to keep the cabbage moss off. The reason is that we have wild rats in this neighborhood, and I found out last year that they love mung beans. I ended up with hardly any dried mung beans because they found the fresh pods and they gobbled them up. So now I have a plan to keep them away from my mung beans this year. I'm not going to get nearly as many because these beds are smaller than the area I planted last year, but it's more or less just for fun at this point. Alright, you might say to me, Emily, it looks like these beds need weeding. Well, I actually did do a bunch of weeding yesterday. Most of what you see, all this greenery, is New Zealand spinach, and I think we're looking at probably no more than 2 plants per bed. They spread. This is their second year and they're going nuts. Look at that. They did not grow this big last year. Of course, I didn't water them. Well, we now have drip irrigation lines in these beds. We didn't last year. All right, now go up here. We have pole beans, and we have a couple of pole beans that already want to be harvested, but they have climbed. I may need a ladder to do some harvesting, some of the beans when they really get going. I'm not sure how well to do because it's already getting in the 90s, and pole beans and bush beans really don't like hot weather, but we'll see. Alright, this was charred from last year, a couple of plants still hanging on. I decided to do nothing in this bed. I was going to try sweet potatoes again, and I just decided to be lazy. We are more or less paleo anyway, so. Now, check this out, interesting. Here's a butternut squash plant, which it's on the drip irrigation, so I'm watering every second or third day at this point, and that's what it looks like. Okay, here are dill. How would you describe that? I don't know. Well, okay, let's look at this one. This brighter green. Okay, that's fennel. Another one over there, and this color green. This is dill. Now, dill and fennel are supposed to repel the squash plant. But notice the size of that plant, and I'll show you why in a minute. Alright, this was a volunteer dill. Look at it. It's just growing in the grass right next to a blueberry pot. It seeded last year, and this is the one that grew. As you can see, it works much better to let plants go to seed and seed themselves. Then these were all transplanted, started indoors and transplanted. This one started much earlier and it's growing much faster. It looks like somebody ate that blueberry. There was a ripe blueberry, or mostly ripe blueberry over there, and I think my son got it. Alright, once again, no apples. I'm hoping that next year my Fujis will give me blossoms so that the Fujis and pink ladies will cross-pollinate. But at least, I don't know if you can see yet. Wait, that's a really tall fig. Nope, it's really hard to see. There are a couple of baby figs growing there. And I'll show you this big fig right here. Yep. So I do have figs on my fig trees. Okay, now notice behind the fig tree, what's that? Cucumber. Now, most of the cucumbers that I'm growing are Yamato extra long. They're supposed to be really good for heat and humidity and be more disease and pest resistant. And they are called Yamato extra long because, check that out, that's about 1 foot long right now. It's ready to harvest. If I keep letting it grow, see there's a baby one right there. If I keep letting this grow, it can get up to 2 feet long. Here's another one almost about ready to harvest. Another one kind of medium sized. Now, okay, that's a baby I just transplanted. Now this one is called West India Gherkin. The leaves look more like watermelon, but they're supposed to produce something that's not really a cucumber, but looks and tastes like a cucumber, but it won't get the pests or the disease. So I meant to plant more of those, but for some reason they just didn't germinate well. I messed up. Alright, get a nice close-up of the leaves. And behind the fig and apple tree I have a couple more cucumbers. You can see that I kind of started them staggered in how I started them. That one is obviously the first one that I planted. Okay. Now, we've already had one round of strawberries, and it looks like we're getting another one. This is wonderful. These are Everbearing Strawberries, and we hardly got any last year, but this year they gave us a pretty prolific first harvest, and now we're getting a really good second harvest. Okay, excuse all the junk here. Alright, now this is what I want you to notice. This also is a butternut squash plant. Looks like somebody's been having fun chewing on that leaf. But I forget to water this half the time. It does not have any sort of irrigation. It's just in the ground. And I'm not sure it gets any more sun than the other one. Maybe it does. But look how much bigger this one is. And this one was planted after the one you saw over by the dill and the fennel. So I just thought that was interesting. Alright, you're going to notice that over here is much more filled in than when I did my video last month. Okay, I learned an important lesson here. If you have a small bed, one barrage plant suffices. Just need one. I have 3. Look at this. It keeps trying to take over my beans. I have to keep cutting it back. But this will be perfect if these live through the summer, and I'm planning to plant zucchini here in the fall. It'll be perfect. I can plant a zucchini right between these, and it may be possible that no squash bugs ever bother them. I have some baby okra down here. I had trouble. What happened the first time was I planted the okra in the ground, just the seeds in the ground, and what I guess happened was the pill beetles and pill bugs, because of all this, all the leaves and everything. There was a lot of pill bugs and sow bugs down there eating the rotting leaves. Well, when these started to germinate, they ate those too. Because I had one seed germinate, and one day I came out and the leaves were all gone off the stem. So I went ahead and I started a few indoors, and I did lose one. There used to be one right there. But most of them are okay, and there's probably going to end up being way more okra than we need. Look at these peach trees. This is new growth. I mean, going up to the roof. And we do have a few peaches, but I think I may have mentioned last time that there aren't very many because these pots are just too small. I'm going to have to, when we get to Oklahoma, they're going in the ground. My apple and my peaches are just going to go in the ground, so they'll be a lot happier. All right, over here. Let's get a good view of the tomatoes. I just pulled these seeds from a Roma tomato that came from the store, an organic Roma tomato that came from a store, and they're doing beautifully so far. Have a bunch of tomatoes and a lot of flowers, doing really well. My peppers aren't doing so, they're not very big right now because I had trouble starting them for some reason. I didn't have trouble last year. I had a little trouble starting them from seed, so I got them a little late. But as you can see, I do have peppers growing. All right, and now normally I would have more zinnia, alyssum, a few other herbs. Look at this crazy basil. It's hardly big and it's already going to flower. But the reason I don't is because I told myself, listen, if you don't get the herbs and flowers started yourself, you are not going to the nursery and spend $50 on herbs and flowers just to have companion gardening. And I did end up buying a few marigolds, and one of them, died on me. But I have a couple left. But the reason is that we had such a hard winter. These are Chinese long runner beans. No flowers yet, but these beans are great for the heat. They'll produce really long beans in the heat. So that's why I'm growing those. But anyway, back to the flowers and herbs. I was so burned out on the miserable summer last year and not having drip irrigation installed and having to water by hand that I wasn't too excited about gardening. But come January, it was enough that I had to force myself to start broccoli and cabbage and all those. Well, what I figured out was here in Zone 8, if you want a good size herbs and flowers by the end, or by the time it's, you know, time to start a garden, you need to get them started in January. So I just didn't get them started early enough. I just didn't feel like it, frankly, and so I got the brassicas going, but not the flowers and herbs. Here are my blackberries, and the 2 raspberries are over there. And I also have, check this out, I have raspberries started themselves in the ground. See, the raspberry bushes used to be over here. I think I probably showed that in my last video, but look at them all. They're just popping up all over the yard. Now, here's my 32 square foot bed, and I just recently cut all the greens down. This was very lush, full of my brassicas, kohlrabi, kale, broccoli, cabbage. I let them, as usual, I let them go about a month too long. And so I'm going to use this bed for peppers and tomatoes in the fall. So it'll just lay barren for the summer. I'll have to keep it weeded. See, I've already got grass trying to grow in there. The peas have had it. They're still growing flowers, but they're not going to end up, see, when the peas have had it, they just immediately start really growing huge peas, and they're more bitter tasting, because this is a sweet pea plant. I need to have my son come and harvest, pick these. I just need to cut the plants off. And still got a few garlic over here. Alright, I need to take some of these lettuce plants out. But as you can see, I've just let them flower. They're going to go to seed, and I'll probably have a bunch more lettuce here next spring. The nasturtium is going nuts. I need to remember to cut it for salads. But this is beautiful when you have just things going to seed and just self-propagating over and over again. Alright, here are my collard greens. This is my new bed. See, there's a little space here. And then I made another mini new bed. Collard greens are great to grow in the south. I harvested a bunch of leaves before making this video. And before I made this video, this was brimming over. This was full of greenery. But I've got to keep cutting them and dehydrating them. They get huge. This is not even a representative of one of the biggest leaves. Use my finger. They get really big leaves, and this is my second planting of collard greens, and they are already ready to be cut. And over here I have a little basil that's struggling to do. I tried to have a tomato here and then a cucumber, and they were both just too small. They were kind of like extras. I just decided to try if I could grow them, but they wouldn't. Now this is beautiful. I love this, volunteers. This is a volunteer tomato, just came up, and the wonderful thing is that it's growing like right next to the sprinkler that waters the foundation. And it's got some nice big tomatoes growing. Look at all that. Wonderful. So that'll be fun. I'm going to get to harvest that. And I also have tomatoes by the fence here. And they're doing really well. Oh, and don't let me forget the Malabar Spinach. I finally got that started. And those will be growing up this fence. Probably the next time I make a video, you'll see them just all over it toward the top of the fence there. But Malabar Spinach, New Zealand Spinach, collard greens, and look at this wonderful, they've been huge. Look at this. Here's my finger, okay? Here's my finger. And that's how big a Swiss chard leaf gets when it's mature. But those 4, and I'm sure there's more, but those are the 4 I grow. Collard greens, Swiss chard, New Zealand spinach, red Malabar spinach. Will grow in very hot weather and will not bolt. They actually don't mind the hot weather, especially the collard greens, New Zealand and Malabar spinach. If you want to know what kind of greens to grow in hot weather. Alright, so there we go. Looking much greener than last month, and definitely bearing fruit. And I have harvested a little bit from these beans. I just didn't end up, again it was a pill beetle and sow bug problem. They ate up the little babies as they were growing, so I had to So I didn't end up with many bean plants, but that's okay. We'll try again next year. Or probably try again in the fall. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this glimpse of the Country Coach garden.